Yeah, you got to lead the way.
Welcome to LOA Today. Walt Thiessen, Alyx King, and Tom Wells here. Today is Friday, March the 22nd, 2019. It's 8 a.m. in New York, 5 a.m. in Los Angeles, 12 noon in London, Sydney, Australia, 11 p.m. Wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And for those of you who are watching the live stream, yes, it's true, I have no video today. I don't know why. It seems to be like a continuation of the pattern for the last week to 10 days or so. So we're just going with it. You can see Alex's beautiful face. You can see Tom's happy face. This is a day where you see Tom and Alyx. That's all there is to it. You just don't see me. I'm the guy behind the curtain today. I'm the one pulling the levers, The great and powerful Oz has spoken. So
the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, right. The Wizard of Oz. I like that. That's good. That kind of summarizes me. So I don't even have to ask how you're doing, Tom, because you were joking and singing and just expressing yourself like crazy before the podcast. So I can guess. I think I can kind of assume you're in a good mood today. Am I right in my reading of that?
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. Okay. I'm in a good mood.
I had to talk him into it. I had to talk him into it, Alyx. Can you believe this?
Yeah, I'm the last one to accept that everything's okay, I guess. But I do. No, I used to believe it a lot more than I do now.
Okay. And I almost don't even dare to ask Alyx after that, but have you had any sleep, Alyx? I mean, you're the sleepless wonder, and I keep hoping you're going to get sleep, but have you had any sleep?
I got an hour last night.
See,
this morning.
This is what I call celebrating. Most people who got an hour worth of sleep would be saying, "Oh, I only got an hour worth of sleep." Alyx is saying, "Yeah, I got an hour worth of sleep." It's all in the perspective, folks. Oh my goodness!
Yeah, you got to choose your battles, man.
And
really, what's worth fighting?
You do a good job of choosing them, I have to say.
Yeah, I've been raised well. Yes.
Well, more than that, it's not just upbringing. Being able to handle lack of sleep like you do is just remarkable. And you had to learn that. That was you doing it. That wasn't your family. That wasn't your upbringing. That wasn't your DNA. That was you.
Well, I don't know, because my dad is a bus driver, like a long distance bus driver. So he would stay up for hours at a time. Like he would do like a 16-hour trip. Like he could drive from Massachusetts to Florida to Orlando in one trip with no sleep. So it might be genetic.
All right. Well, then I'll amend my statement. And apparently, among other things, your father was crazy, but to drive that 15.
Or he did uppers. A lot of truck drivers do a few uppers.
Well, that's
no, he didn't do uppers.
Caffeine related.
Wow.
Nope.
As far as you know, yeah.
That is crazy.
Well, that's cool.
Crazy. Yeah. Well, hey, whatever. As long as you get there safely, I guess that's the main thing. But wow.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I have to tell you honestly, I don't really have a particular topic in mind. I mean, we could be doing more work on our fiction podcast on the first episode. Although, quite honestly, I feel like I'm at the stage now where I just need to just do some writing. I mean, I don't know about you, Alyx, but I just feel like we've done a lot of the prep work for episode 1. So I'm thinking maybe we just turn into an old-fashioned LOA show, just plain LOA where we talk about LOA stuff. What do you think?
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Well, let's do that then. And if you're listening to the live stream, feel free to chime in with questions and comments and so forth. We'll be glad to incorporate them into what we're talking about here. And I'm trying to tune in now to see exactly whether we have any comments or questions or anything like that. But while I'm doing that, why don't we just do our usual thing of coming up with topics of our own. We'll just kind of do like a round robin, and we'll each come up with a topic. And if we get a question from the audience, then we'll include that as well. Sound good?
Sure.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, then let's do that.
Sounds like a plan.
It is a plan.
Black.
No, it is a plan. There you go.
So, all right, I'll lead off first. I'll come up with the first topic to discuss. And that topic is feeling good. it's something that actually I've been addressing with co-hosts Joel and Steve the last 2 episodes. But the reason for bringing it up was I've been doing a lot of work on myself. I've been spending a lot of time, building up my self-love, my emotional connection, and so forth. And particularly the last 2 days when I got out for my walks and during the podcast and so forth, I've been really doing a good job of staying into that good feeling place. The one thing that has been a little bit missing for me is it's a good feeling place. It's just not a really strong feeling place. It's like, oh, well, this is just nice and comfortable. Not that there's anything bad about it. It's not a strong, powerful feeling. And it occurs to me, I may be wrong about this. I'm kind of curious to see what your take is on this from both of you. But I kind of have the feeling this is something that probably millions of people experience, and that it probably reflects some kind of societally taught ideas about how we really shouldn't express and feel big positive emotions because they won't last, and you can't trust them. They're transient. They'll go away, and so we learn over time to settle for less. It's good. It feels good, but we just kind of settle for less. That's my current theory. And I wondered what you thought about that. So, Alyx, I'm going to go to you. Does that resonate? Does that not make sense? What do you think?
I mean, I totally get that, what you're saying about how society feels that way. I don't like to follow that mantra, because I feel like you should be allowed to be happy all the time. And extra bursts of it throughout the day is good for me. So, like, I like to, if I'm bored or whatever, I like to throw on my headphones and listen to whatever playlist that I want to listen to for the day, and I dance all around the house, and that's my exercise for the day. Or I just recently started watching Ellen every day, and that definitely raises your spirits. And just doing what you love. Like, if you like going out for walks, go out for a walk. If you like watching certain TV shows, watch certain TV shows. But no, I don't sign up for that. You can't be too happy, or, something will go wrong thing. I don't like it.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, intellectually, I totally agree with you. I just wonder if that's actually what's going on in the back of my head, my subconscious mind saying, okay, you've had just enough good feeling. That's enough for today.
But I feel like you're making up your subconscious mind by thinking that, though.
Well, I'm sure that's true, yeah. I'm just trying to explain why it is that I end up feeling good, but I don't feel really good. It's like, this feels good. This is good. I'm enjoying it, but it's not a real strong feeling inside. It's not bad. Not at all bad. It's all good. It's just not real strong. That's what I'm trying to understand.
You're waiting for the other shoe to drop. And
yes.
That's what we have to stop doing as a society.
Yes. That's exactly it, waiting for the other shoe to drop. In fact, that was something I talked about with Steve yesterday, or with Joel, actually, I think it was, about how from a very early age I remember hearing that phrase, like age 7, 8, 9, something like that, hearing the phrase, well, I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop, and I would give a lot of thought to it. I'm saying, well, geez, what happens when the other shoe drops? It must be terrible, whatever it is, because that's the way they're talking about it. You can see from the looks on the adult's face, it must be a bad thing. What do you think, Tom? Am I making something out of nothing, or is there something to this? Is this something that a lot of people deal with?
Well, you're the expert in my mind on raising children and the type of schooling that you've been exposed to with the works you've done with schools to show that children are incredibly deprogrammed from their happiness every year, every month. From the time, that they come into the world, there's some adult there who's concerned about them, and so, or they're simply modeling a restricted way of living life. And so from the time we're really little, we're watching adults and getting all of our imprinting from adults who are the ones we depend on for love and security. We're getting all this imprinting that's saying, you've got to tone it down, baby. You don't be so happy. Don't be, like little kids that run around the house screaming and yelling and want to do tons of fun stuff every second of the day. That's not okay. It's like you got to cut it back, and then once they go to the traditional schools, not a Waldorf school or something like that, but when they go to the traditional schools, they really have to shut it down. I certainly did, and I remember it. I remember how that is, and it made me think of also these people I did coaching training with, Gay and Katie Hendricks, the Conscious Loving, Conscious Living coaching training. And they said that in all of their 40 years of being psychotherapists and 20,000 estimated appointments that they've done with people around all kinds of psychotherapy issues, the single biggest thing that they agreed they were dealing with people was what they call the upper limits problem, which is Gay Hendricks wrote an entire book on it called The Big Leap. And it's all about how we all have this built-in limitation from our childhood of how happy we can be.
Really?
So the entire book is based on, and all of their teaching is based on the fact that's the only problem you're dealing with when you're coaching somebody is their upper limit problem. They just don't believe that they can be as happy as they really can be.
Well, I feel a little bit better now. I feel like I've actually hit a real issue. That's good. I was beginning to wonder.
You live in real issues, Walt. You are a real issue. Remember that.
Yes.
Okay, now I'm getting paranoid. I'm an issue now. This is not a good thing.
No, good issue. It's a good thing.
It is? Oh, okay.
What I mean is, like, you're a unique issue from the inventory of the universe, okay. Oh, look at this one. So, you've got all kinds of wonderful qualities about you, but how do we take the lid off of that stuff and not constantly tell ourselves we're threatened by something, that we have to be careful because the other shoe's going to drop. And
well, I'm glad you know.
That's I would love to know the derivation of that story, the other shoe's going to drop.
I'm not sure I want to know, to be perfectly honest. After I was, intimidated by it when I was a kid. I'm not sure.
Well,
it's
probably a story of God taking his shoes off or something like that. It's like, man, you heard that first shoe drop. It was probably came from the sound of thunder or something. That was one shoe dropping. And the next clap of thunder is going to be the other shoe dropping. And you better watch out. It's not on your house, right on your head.
Everybody knows that when there's thunder, it's because God is bowling. Everybody.
I love it.
A lot of Native Americans, I understand, were able to listen to thunder and be able to interpret what it was saying. Literally, they had that skill of it would be telling them something. Each thing of thunder would have a message in it. I was thinking, whoa, that's really interesting. Anyway, that's not our topic, but.
You mean messages like take shelter now, that kind of thing? You mean messages like take shelter now? That's the kind of message from thunder?
No, I think really significant, beautiful messages about
I see. Okay.
Life and what's going on with them and all kinds of things.
Jason,
these are beautiful forces in nature that science has reduced it all down to the whole world just be explained by logic and reason. And I think that was a huge detriment to our experience as humans that we started to limit. It's another sign of all the limitation we've grown up with, because it's coming from a whole past of people thinking they had to control everything rather than have it truly be magical and have it truly unfold in a way that's spontaneous and unique, and you're just sort of watching every second what might happen next that could be beautiful and wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Jason actually gave us a question to discuss from the live stream audience, so let's bring him in. He says, how do I know, this is a common question, how do I know what I'm manifesting is getting closer, or even just getting close?
Driftwood evidence.
Driftwood evidence, talk about that.
Well, Abraham talks about how, let's say you're walking on a beach and you start, you come to an area and there's all of a sudden lots of really big logs, and they're, some are like 20 feet long and they're, 2 feet around, and you're walking down the beach, and sort of the driftwood that you're seeing is evidence that a forest existed somewhere. Mm-hmm. So you start seeing things in your life that are evidence that you're headed in the right direction. Like you're starting to get cool things are starting to happen, or, if you're trying to, bring more money into your life, something shows up in the mail, that indicates that, here's a check you didn't expect to get, and oh wow, I didn't know I was getting a refund for that. That's awesome. And it's sort of evidence that you're on the right path. But
okay,
I think I feel it inside myself. I feel when I'm getting closer to manifestation because my energy starts picking up. I start feeling like I'm flowing with the river, and it's starting to pick up speed, and I can feel, good things are happening. This is going to turn into good stuff if I don't sabotage it, if I don't put an upper limit on it.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Are you a sign reader, Alyx? I mean, do you find that to be true for you?
Yes and no. I feel like signs can help, but it depends on if you believe in it or not. If you believe in signs, then that sign will work for you, but you also shape what the sign means to you. So it's not like, you see a red flag and you interpret it as purple or blue or whatever, anything but red. You know what I mean? It's all in you. So it's all in how you interpret it. But, I definitely follow the driftwood evidence, theory because when I feel good things happen. And that's law of attraction. That's just basically what it is. So I try to feel good all the time, despite what's happening around me. And good things do happen for me. So that's just the way it is.
Okay. All right. Well, the driftwood evidence theory seems to be predominant here. I think I would tend to agree with that. Although I have to admit, most of the time I'm kind of oblivious to signs. Other people have to point out a sign to me, and I'll say, "Oh, I guess that is a sign, isn't it?" But most of the time, I just don't even notice them. So I guess you have to be a noticer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think for me, it's giving myself permission to bask. Abraham always talks about basking, which means, obviously if something's good is starting to happen in your life, that you spend some time in that good feeling of it. You don't just let your mind take you immediately back to, what about the other shoe? It could drop at any time. I better be worried. I better be concerned. I better be fearful about not getting what I want.
Better be ready.
Yeah, and I guess it's just, again, opening ourselves to the flow, to where we're saying, hey, maybe I should spend some time appreciating the good things that are happening here. And then that just opens more doors.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good thing. I wish I could tell you, Jason, that I had a clear idea on when stuff's going to show up. I've actually adopted the viewpoint that says the more that I focus on when's it going to show up, the less likely I'm going to be able to maintain my high vibration. So I just don't even think about it. Otherwise, I get myself into trouble. The more that I can just get into that place of just enjoying the fact that I'm feeling good about feeling good. Just, okay, so I put my request out there and I'm waiting for it to come. But while I'm waiting for it, I just spend my time feeling good. If I can just feel good and have a day where I felt good, I figure that's all the victory I need. I'm not going to try to look for any evidence beyond that. It's just, how did I do today? That's it. Because that's all I really have control over anyway, is how do I feel today and what am I feeling today? So I just focus on that. That's it, And when the stuff shows up, I can be surprised, which is nice.
Because your life's happening second by second by second. If you're not enjoying it, then you're missing the journey of life. And it's easy to do that because I think, well, I won't really be happy until I finally have that amount of money in my account, or I'm finally with my partner that I want to be with, and she's in my life, then I can really be happy. But what about all those moments leading up to that?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Got to enjoy every moment, or otherwise, you got to at least be open to that possibility that there's a lot of wonderful moments going by.
Now, Jason did qualify his question. He said, I've been experiencing a lot of synchronicity lately. Now, that would kind of fall into the category of driftwood, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what that means. Yeah. Driftwood evidence, synchronicities, things showing up that you didn't expect.
So there you go. So I think the answer to your question, Jason, is how do you know? You know. You just explained how you know. You just said it right there.
Yeah.
So congratulations. You are now a master deliberate creator.
What are we going to send to our lucky contestant?
We're going to send lots of positive vibes and good wishes that his manifestation comes as quickly as possible.
All right.
Yeah. So, okay, that was I got the first question, and Jason got the second question. Tom, how about you? I can always count on you for a good question. Have you come up with anything for us to discuss today or to think about or talk about?
You know, the thing that I'm always is on my mind these days is the difference between surrendering to letting the universe or source or God or whatever you want to call it orchestrate your life, and you thinking that you've got a whole lot that you got to get together to make your life unfold right. You know, and so what's the balance between that? You know, like, do you need to have concern at all about how things are unfolding, or is it actually just letting go of your concern that's your main focus in life?
For me, it's letting go. Because if we don't let go, then there are two options. One option is we always feel great about the thing that's coming and we never doubt it for a second. Or we start doubting it and driving it away. And I tend to fall into the second camp. So I figure, why bother? You know, until I get to the point where I can just focus on that thing as if it's wonderful, right up to the moment it shows up. Until I get to the point where I can do that regularly, I'm going with take my attention away from it. That's my best option, I think.
How about you, Alex?
I do the same thing. I let go because I tend to drift into the feeling of, okay, I might not be vibrating where I need to be vibrating to achieve this manifestation. So let me just release the reins and see what happens. And it all usually works out.
Plus,
so throughout your day, are you doing that then? Kind of like saying to yourself, whenever your mind starts to worry and you start to fear or have anxiety, you just sort of say, hey, I'm just going to trust this is just going to work out.
Yep, I just say let go and let God, and then I continue doing whatever I was doing.
I've also added another component. I've been trying to remind myself lately, and there were a couple of instances yesterday with live stream listeners who I was able to pass this along to them as well, reminding myself that just like Abraham says, Abraham expresses it as you can't get it wrong and you'll never get it done. And I try to turn that into a more positive framing by saying you will always get it right and life goes on forever, or the road goes on forever. And I especially like that first part because it's a reminder to me every time that I try to manifest something or even just to do something and it doesn't come out the way I wanted to originally, it doesn't mean I got it wrong. I actually got it right. And it's a really important thing to remember. Even though it didn't come out exactly the way I wanted to, I got it right within the context of what I understood at that time, the best that I was able to vibrate at that time, the best I was able to focus at that time. I did the best I could, and I got the best result I could get. And when I understand it that way, now all of a sudden I'm not beating myself up all the time, which was that's been my pattern throughout most of my life, beat myself up when it doesn't come out the way I wanted it to. Well, now I'm saying to myself, no, I got it right. I got it right to exactly what I was able to do at that particular time. And I'm continuing to grow. I'm continuing to get stronger and better focused and all that kind of thing, so that over time I'm able to hit the mark more often than I miss it. And I kind of got this from the discussions that Cindy Chavez and I have had about Neville Goddard, in which he kind of takes issue with what the church calls sin and compares it to the original definition of sin, which is just missing the mark. It's not about going to hell or offending God or anything like that. It's just you aimed at something and you didn't hit it, and that's all it is. And when you treat things that way, now all of a sudden it gives life an entirely different perspective. It's like, oh, well, I missed the bullseye. So what do? I pick up another arrow and fire again. No big deal.
Yeah. And, you know, that word sin in Latin means without. And I long ago realized that when you're without your connection to Source and you don't feel that trust in the divine or whatever you want to call it, God or, you know, the universe, you don't trust that you're being guided and that things are unfolding the way they need to, then you're in sin because you're without your connection to who you really are. You know, and so that's what all sin means, is not being in that wonderful place that's your birthright, that is who you really are. You know, but it doesn't mean I'm always feeling good. I feel like it's important to understand that every single thing is okay. You know, like you were saying, Walt, I mean, no matter what it is that's coming up, I always like to say, you're always in the right place at the right time doing the right thing.
Right.
You know, it's like,
exactly.
Yeah.
That's kind of hard to accept for a lot of people. You know, like, how can I not be wrong? How can I not have blown it somewhere? How can I not be needing to get to some other place? But where you are, if you can let go to it and just feel into it, and without having to think your way through the whole thing, you're probably going to just be fine, because the next thing's going to just unfold and unfold and unfold as we trust.
Mm-hmm. I think that's actually tied to what we talked about earlier, breaking through that ceiling, breaking through that upper limit that we've placed in our minds. I think it's about just letting go of this idea of, I got it wrong. No, we got it right. We're always getting it right. And thereby taking the pressure off of ourselves. So, yeah.
The amazing, unusual thing is that why is there that strong fear that things aren't going to be okay? You know, that's what I'm asking myself all day long, every day. In a way, I'm looking at, why do I have any fear? Why do I be so concerned? You know, because if I had just been trained in my childhood to just have constant faith in life, and that it's all I got from my elders, you know, was have faith, have faith, have faith, you're taken care of. I think I ought to be a different person right now, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the good news, of course, is that we can always become different people right now. That's the beauty of it, right? You know, so all we have to do is just change our focus, and all of a sudden we get different results. So that's the good part. But you're right. I mean, what happens in our childhood can stick with us for years, and I mean, that's kind of like what a large portion of our work is, letting go of all that junk that was handed to us when we were kids.
That's why, like, an appreciation journal is so interesting, because you sit down and you start writing all the things that today I'm really appreciating about my life and about myself and about other people, and it's like, I realize I don't have a habit of doing that. You know, I don't have that built into me, and I'm working on that all the time. I'm like, how can I look for just appreciate what's going on here that's good, that's working? You know, so many things are working.
Very good. So you got a question for us, Alyx? Something we can sink our teeth into and gnash and get to the meat of? I'm trying to bring in every metaphor I can think of that has to do with chewing.
Something you can masticate, yes, sure. What are the top 3 tiers of a relationship, do you think?
Top 3 tiers?
Yes.
That make a successful relationship?
Yes.
Like characteristics? Is that what you mean by tiers?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. If I got to pick 3 of them, I'm going to say the first one is loving yourself. The second one is respecting the person that you're with. And kind of tied into that, I think it's also part of the second one, is the love coming out of that respect. I mean, to me, it's not about the sexual love. Nothing wrong with the sexual love, don't get me wrong, just that's not the basis of it. The basis of it is that personal connection of, it's a trusting connection that you're going to be respectful of that person, they're going to be respectful of you, you're both there to help each other get to your highest place, to your best place, to live your best life. That to me is key. So start with the self-love. That's number 1. Number 2 is what your relationship is to the other person, how you are interacting with them, and how respectful it is, and how you really want the best for them. I mean, and it works both ways on that. So that's the second one.
Yeah.
And then I think the third one is recognizing that just because you're with somebody doesn't mean you have to spend all your time with that person. You also have a separate life. I think that's probably the third tier right there. Just, you have to live your own life. It's not, otherwise you're codependent. Otherwise your entire existence is based on what that other person is doing. And that just doesn't work either. So, yeah, self-love, how you're respecting and feeling about the other person, and you have your life to live. Those are my answers, anyway. What about you, Tom? What do you think?
Well, those are good. I guess I agree with them. The first thing that came to me is appreciation of myself and then appreciation of my partner. Like instead of looking for things that are potentially going to go wrong or that I don't like, really look for the things I appreciate and accentuate those. But definitely the first here is doing the work on myself. Like if I'm not really recognizing that my happiness really has to come from within me, and I really think it comes from within my partner, then, without her there, that I won't be enough of something. That's the biggest mistake I can possibly make but that's easy to make, that one, because, it's easy to believe that I need somebody to complete me or something, or I need somebody else to confirm that I'm lovable, or to confirm that I'm appreciated, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so that's number one, is appreciation. I know that one thing that I thought was so cool that Gay and Katie Hendricks again taught in their Conscious Loving workshop about relationships was make an agreement with your partner that you will never criticize each other no matter what. It's just like an upfront agreement. And so second, anything comes out that's a critical judgment of the other person, that's where the work needs to be done in the relationship. So it's like a constant awareness that if I'm criticizing my partner, I'm on the wrong place. Something here has got to be addressed.
Yeah, I'm not sure Louise and I'm not sure we ever actually had a time where we had a conversation like that, but we've certainly acted as if we had. Because we definitely,
that's good.
We have certainly learned the art of what I call being able to disagree without being disagreeable. We can have our own opinions. Our opinions don't have to be the same, but we don't have to step on the other person in order to have them.
Right.
Yeah. And then the third thing would be what you were saying, the balance between intimacy and autonomy, recognizing when it's appropriate to be into the intimacy with your partner and being able to truly let go to that, and then by the same token recognize when it's time to be alone and be able to let go to that and go and have other friends, have other activities. If you want to go out for a walk in the forest and she doesn't or he doesn't, then go for a walk by yourself. That kind of a recognition of your own autonomy. Or I need to be alone for the next 3 hours, so just don't come in the room. Recognize what autonomy is for you and be able to have good boundaries. Having those boundaries clear is huge.
I find that doors are wonderful things.
Yeah, really, for all of us. Yeah.
Well, how about you with your own question, Alyx? What's your take on what were the top 3 things?
I tell my friends this all the time. Without these 3 things, your relationship probably has some issues and needs some work. And those are love, trust, and communication.
So talk about
Plain
those.
And simple.
Talk about them.
Well, love, I also agree with you guys. I feel like you need to have love for yourself, because if you don't make you happy, you're going to make somebody else miserable.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, miserable is infectious. Miserable.
Yeah, it is. And trust, you can't be the type of person who, if your boyfriend or girlfriend goes somewhere, say they go out to hang out with their friends, and you're texting them every 5 minutes because, what are you doing? What are you doing now? What are you doing now? You can't be that type of person. So you need to be able to trust that they're not doing anything or being disloyal to you in any way while they're out and about, having their me time. And communication sums up all 3. You have to talk about both of those things in order to effectively have a relationship. You just need communication. Talk.
Those are good. As you were mentioning that last bit there, I was thinking about people on Facebook who ask the question, how can I get my mate back? How can I get my ex back? And you often don't get a lot of details about it. Sometimes they'll give you details, but most often it's just the generic, how do I get him back? And I'm not going to tell you anything. But I get the sense, I get the feeling that in a lot of those cases, they themselves were doing exactly what you described. They were hounding the other person. They were just driving him or her crazy with, so what are you doing? When am I going to hear from you? I haven't seen you in 3 hours. Just stay in constant contact. And then he cuts off contact at some point because he's sick of it. And she says, but now he's ghosting me. He's ignoring me entirely. Like,
like, you were too much. Calm down.
Yeah, right.
Too much.
I always wonder what the other side of the story is, and that's kind of the story that I invent in my head when I see these posts, that there's something that they were doing that drove the other person away, and they aren't acknowledging it.
Yeah. Or, I mean, sometimes it's not that way. The other person may have just became uninterested and cheated, and that's how the relationship ended. And if that's the case, why do you want him back?
Exactly. Yeah. I guess maybe I'm taking them at their word, because very often they'll say, "Oh, everything was great. It was all going so well," Mm-hmm. And in my mind, I'm saying, okay, well, if it was going so well, why did it end?
Right.
There's something missing from the story here. I don't know what it is. But
and that's the problem. They don't know what it is either. That's the problem, and that's why they want their ex back.
Yeah.
There's a principle called microscopic honesty, and I thought that was always such an interesting phrase. And it's like what you were saying, Alex. You've got to be communicating what really is going on with you to your partner. You can't hold things back, even if they seem threatening. You got to find a way to, maybe you find a gentle way to talk about it and a loving way to talk about it, and a way that you're not in blame of the other person, or you're in shame and all that stuff. But being able to tell the other person what's really going on is really important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that was the third leg of Alex's triad there, communication. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And when you think about it, the word relationship depends upon that. To have a relationship is to have two people who relate. To relate is to talk. It's to express.
You're right.
So I agree with you. You can't possibly have a relationship if you don't communicate. It's not possible.
Right.
But
real microscopic honesty to me implies that you don't hold back the stuff that seems like it's difficult, or that you're embarrassed by, or that you feel is gonna, if I say this, how is she gonna think about me? If I tell her this aspect of me, So how do you approach all these subjects? And of course, it's okay to be diplomatic too, but not lying. Not trying to not let the other person know something that you're just holding inside, because that affects the relationship in every way when you're holding something in.
It does.
Yeah.
What's interesting to me is perhaps the wrong word, a little bit horrifying to me, is how there are still a number of societies around the world that punish that activity. They don't do it deliberately, but they end up punishing people who reveal what it is that's bothering them, or what reveal what has happened to them, what they've experienced. The thing I'm thinking about right now is Nasha, of course, is one of our regular listeners, and she was asking Steve Rowell and I some questions about how to deal with her family issues during yesterday afternoon's podcast. And after that podcast, Steve and I were talking, and I did some more research, kind of to confirm what I already knew about what life is like for women in Pakistan. And I found one article that really just summarized it beautifully, I thought. But they were talking about, they were telling the stories of like 4 or 5 different women who live in Pakistan. And one of them was an 18-year-old who told the story of how she met the love of her life, this beautiful young man, and they were planning to get married, and all this stuff was going on. and then she got attacked and raped, and he would have nothing to do with her after that because she was used. And I'm thinking,
yeah.
Now that's a really extreme example, but it is an example of, she if she had found some way to keep that inside and not let it out, maybe she would have been able to keep her man. But because she let it out, she got punished for it. And she got punished twice. She got horribly abused in a way she never should have been abused in the first place, and then she paid the price for it with the guy who supposedly loved her. I think, whoa! I mean, talk about a double whammy.
I've had that happen where I've told a woman some, very private things about my vulnerability, and then she's used it against me, and I've had to literally say to her, like, I didn't tell you that so you could beat me up with it, I didn't tell you that so you could point out that I'm screwed up, I was looking for, what's the word, compassion and understanding, and
right.
Instead of, oh, you're screwed up, man. It's like, well, no.
I think that's all we're looking for is compassion and understanding. But I mean, especially I can vouch for mental health for amongst women and men in the Black community. It's definitely frowned upon to get help.
Really?
So, yeah, it's like that's just not something we deal with. You're supposed
to be strong.
You're supposed to be strong. You're supposed to just deal with things on your own. You're not the Black people in therapy. They barely go to the doctors, which is why they die so early. So therapy is just not a thing. And then having the type of insurance that we have, it's even harder to get help. So people just end up in bad situations, and it's horrible. It's horrible the way the state of mind of people. I mean, I think it's getting better. More people are talking about it nowadays, especially Black women. They're coming forward with their postpartum and their bipolar and their depression, and they're like, listen, I'm not okay. I'm not just an angry Black woman. I'm not okay, and I need help.
That's good. That is good. I'm glad.
I wonder where that came from in the Black community. Just think it came from their history of having to survive in the slave situation. You think that they just had to be strong?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because they were up against just such extreme odds that you either survive or you don't. I don't know.
Yeah.
Wow, trauma.
It
really reinforces how important it is then to not only talk about these things like we do here on the podcast, but also work on them on ourselves. Because, I mean, here we've just come up with 2 or 3 really very powerful examples of the ways that our societies have basically set us up to fail, set us up to not allow ourselves to achieve our greatest potential of who we are. So the more that we can be talking about that and working on it and encouraging each other, the better. So thank you for sharing what you guys said, and I'm glad I shared what I said, because it reinforces for me what we're doing here on the podcast is really important.
Very
good.
Right on.
So let's see. Let's do one more round of questions. We may have time for one more round, possibly, depending on how quick our answers are. So, so I think it's my turn. Let's see. What am I going to ask about? Okay. Well, I'm going to keep it really, really simple. To the degree that you're willing to share what you're trying to manifest, and if you don't want to share that, that's okay. But to whatever degree you're willing to share that, what can you tell us about what you're working on right now that's really exciting to you?
I don't know. I'm working on so many things at so many different times.
I didn't think that I could actually get you guys silent, but I just did it.
Oh no, I'm letting Alyx go first.
Okay.
Oh, you go first, Tom. You need to marinate on this.
Jump right in there. Jump right in.
Oh, so what am I working on that I'm excited about? The main thing is I'm moving from Colorado to Oregon to live with some really good friends of mine in one of their many mansions and I'm going to be helping them out with management of one of their mansions, the one on the lake. And it's just this whole opening to going and being on the road and putting all my stuff in storage and going to live a completely different lifestyle than I've been living for years and years, as a, freewheeling guy who's, not tied to a place. And it's exciting to think that it's going to just open all kinds of doors to my own conscious development of who I am, because I just am sort of throwing all caution to the wind and saying I can just go and have a whole lot more fun and do a lot more playful things in my life. And so it's it's just an opening. And then I've been researching all kinds of countries overseas. So during the next year, I'm going to travel. I hope to go to some and check out some of these countries as possible places to live.
Very cool. As soon as you described moving from Colorado, as soon as you start talking about that, I instantly believed. I just had this like energy wave hit me saying, "Oh yeah, of course that's happening." In fact, oh wait a minute, he's making this up. He hasn't manifested this yet. It sounded like he'd already manifested it. That's how convinced I was of it. The other thing
I've been too.
You got that too?
Yeah. Well, I just spent the last 3 days buying a brand new car. I'm selling my other car. I'm packing everything. I mean, I'm doing everything to go because I don't have a choice. I mean, not that I don't have a choice, but I want to do this. So it's just here I go.
The other thing I would caution you about is if you are going to Oregon, don't say Oregon. They'll think that you're a hick who's uneducated. It's Oregon.
Oregon?
Oregon, yes. If you say Oregon,
I've lived there
then
twice.
they'll accept you.
Yeah. Hey, going to Oregon. It was one of the main bastions of the KKK back in the day. It was a
was it really?
super super KKK state.
Huh.
Well, this very town that I live in, Boulder, was one of the KKK's model cities. They sent people up in the 1800s to give awards to the people that started Boulder because they were so successful in massacring the Native Americans and keeping blacks out, keeping all the ethnic minorities out of here. And you walk the streets of Boulder today, you do not see black people, and you do not see the only Latinos pretty much are the people that are working for all the white people. I mean, it's a lot like that.
Wow.
So
wow.
I don't know why I got off on that topic. But
I'm not sure either, but there's something going on there.
Giving us your town history. It was very interesting.
Well, we were talking about, slavery and how, the black community ended up being afraid to ask for help. And, people that have survival as they have to learn to survive on their own, pull themselves up by their own bootstraps.
Right.
They don't ask for help.
Nope, they don't.
Well, Jason says he's trying to manifest the perfect apartment. That's what he's focusing on. How about you, Alex? Is there anything that you're focusing on that you're really excited about that you're hoping is coming real soon?
I'm trying to manifest mainly just living my best life in general, but a loving, committed relationship.
Ah. That's a good one. That's a really good one. Yeah, I like that. I'm trying to manifest something that you and I are manifesting together. I'm trying to manifest a successful fiction podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, I want the grass to be green around this side. So yeah, that's my big thing I'm working on right now, and that's fun too, because when you have something that you love and that you can do something with, and you don't have to wait for somebody to give you a job or give you some funding or whatever it is, where you can just go do it, then you just kind of dive into it. And the only frustration I have is right now, Alex, I haven't been able to actually sit down and work on it for more than 20 minutes in the last 3 days. That's the worst thing I've had to deal with.
My worst thing is everything I write, you've already written by the time I go to sleep.
Well, that means we're on the same wavelength.
Like, son of a gun.
I was thinking about that. Actually, you know what? I think what we should probably do is, because we know what the chunks are, so you take one chunk, I take the other chunk, and that way we aren't writing each other's stuff.
Okay.
So we just got to take what's left with episode 1 and divide it up that way. And that way, well, first of all, we'll get it done faster. And second of all, we won't be rewriting each other.
Right. I'll be looking at yours and I'm like, this sounds real familiar.
Well, you know what that is. I mean, and Tom's played a role in this too. We have done a really nice job of blocking out and by blocking out, I mean resisting, I mean creating segments of the story so that we understand the characters, we understand the segments, we understand where it's going. We've done that so well that, of course, we're going to come up with very similar stuff. So that's a good thing. Yeah. That's a really good thing. Mm-hmm. That makes it easier to trust.
I was thinking it's really important in my mind of how this develops that it's that they're going to really get into working on their situation as a key part of the episode. Mm. Of finding ways to process these things, like things happen in their lives that really thrust them into personal evolution and personal development in really cool ways. So that we can talk about how is it that these people were able to change their lives in such wonderful ways. And of course there can still be crises and things that keep coming up because that's the way life is, right?
Oh, sure.
Well, that's the whole point of this
being a story.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, is to have it be interesting.
Well, to have it be interesting, but also to show, growth and of course, law of attraction and, how we get to living our best lives and being the best us that we can be.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
In the face of difficulties and things that coming along that, how did that happen and why is that not working out? And then you start looking at all that.
Past traumas and all that stuff.
Yeah.
All the good stuff.
Everything that we're all dealing with.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. That's what makes it so interesting because we can all relate to it.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
Very cool stuff.
And if it's not you, somebody else is going through the same thing who's maybe struggling with it, and then you hear some way to approach it, law of attraction, understanding or something, you go, wow, if she would only see it that way, she wouldn't be so stuck in her story, that kind of a thing.
Exactly.
Well, you just touched on it, the fact, that people will say, well, if she would only do this, if he would only do that. It's so much easier to see it in somebody else, so that's what makes it enjoyable. Right. That's why it's so fun to watch it or listen to a story like that. Yeah. Try to look at your own stuff? Oh, God. Your own stuff's much harder. Much, much harder.
Yeah, right. It's true. So. They always say that if you ever want to know what's really going on in your life, ask your 3 best friends to be honest with you. They say, well, Tom, you definitely are too worried about this. It's like, look at what you do. And I go, oh, yeah, I do, huh?
Yeah, I ask my best friends that every day.
Do you? Yeah?
Do you really do that?
I take a census at least once a week.
Wow.
Yeah. You say, hey, do you think that I'm a little bit off base and something like that?
Yeah.
Is that what you ask them?
I know I'm always right, but.
Oh.
But.
Yeah. But could you give me some advice? Yeah.
There's some things you can't see for yourself, so you need outside help.
Mm.
Yeah. You don't have a problem asking for help.
I don't, no.
That's cool.
That makes you a role model.
Yeah. That's why you're a life coach.
Aw, thanks.
That's true. It's true. Yeah, that means you're going to be influencing people that you've never even seen. You've never even heard of.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which is
That's
cool.
the goal.
Yeah.
What you're already doing on this podcast, because you never know who's going to listen to this. And
that's true.
They're going to hear you say something, and they're going to go, wow, that's cool. I can see that.
That's why I'm never afraid to talk about my story, because you never know who you're helping.
That's right.
That is absolutely true. So, okay, Tom, we're back for your second question. You got a second question for us?
Oh, we're not out of time?
No,
okay.
Believe it or not, we got about 4 or 5 minutes left. About 4 minutes left.
Oh, okay. I got another question?
Yeah.
I don't have one. I would just have to completely pull it out of thin air.
Well, give it a shot. Let's see what you get.
Well, okay. When you're trying to accomplish a big project and you've got you kind of know what you got to do, what's the best way to make progress with that project? What do you think, Alyx?
I think outside opinions. Ask people around you who are familiar with that type of project and what's your next step? Where do you need to go next? Mm-hmm. And research. Do a lot of research on what you have to get done.
Okay. Yeah, that's basically what I do every day with my co-hosts. I mean, almost all the topics I bring up are topics that I need help with on one form or another, one level or another. So I just ask my co-hosts and make it the topic of conversation.
Uh-huh. I thought what you guys were going to say was just start with what the first impulse you get that you feel is coming from your intuition. So that, like for example, I've got to declutter everything in my house and garage to get ready to put it all into storage. And I want to get rid of as much as I can because I don't know if I'm ever going to come and live here again. And so I'm thinking, if I go live overseas, I don't want to come back to a storage unit and have to spend 2 weeks at the storage unit getting rid of stuff. So much easier to get rid of it now. So how do I jump into this project in a way that is really beneficial for me and that feels good and I really get things done? So I feel like each day I got to have it follow the impulses I get. If it says get rid of something, get rid of it, or the way to clean things up. Yeah, go ahead.
They say that when you're decluttering your life and trying to, live that minimalistic life, if it doesn't bring you joy, get rid of it.
Yeah. If it doesn't bring you joy, when you ask, do I like this? Does it bring me joy? Then you just say, move it on. Yeah.
And if you haven't used it in a year, get rid of it.
That's a big one. Yeah. Not that easy for me to do. But of course, if I say that, it won't be easy.
I think there are exceptions to that, to be honest. Like for instance, if you have a photo album and you haven't looked at the photo album in a year, you probably don't want to just throw the photo album away.
But does it bring you joy?
It may not bring you joy right now, but my point is, just because you haven't looked at it in a year doesn't mean you're never interested in it. Unless you know for sure that it's full of photos that you'll never care about. If you know that, throw it away.
These are two separate questions. They don't go together. It's not does it bring you joy and have you use it in a year?
Okay.
So does it bring you joy? Yes, no, maybe so. All right. Throw it away, keep it. And then for something else, have you used it in a year?
Yeah, well, I've got, say in the garage, I've got 2 great big toolboxes full of all the tools I accumulated in 40 years of owning homes, and I don't really own a home now. I mean, I rent a condo. So should I, how do I deal with all those tools? Because I might own a home again and I'll want them, but, have to go out and buy them all.
You think like that.
You just got to look at each wrench and each screwdriver and go, does this screwdriver bring me joy? Well, it has brought me joy, sort of. Maybe. But I sure would like to have it there if I need it. Anyway.
I think we've gotten into the realm of the silly, and that's probably a good place to stop, because we are near the end of the hour here. Before we go, I want to remind people, if you're not yet a subscriber, please become one. Very simple to do. Go to the homepage, loatoday.net. It'll show you an icon for your device. Just click it, walk through the steps, and just like that, you're a subscriber. And then don't forget to share the fact that you've been listening to LOA Today and that you've been enjoying it so much, because that's how we spread the word. And with that thought in mind, Alyx, you and I have our work cut out for us. We got to get the script of episode 1 done. So let's make that our goal for by next Friday. We're going to have that script done. What do you say?
Yes, sir.
All right, we got it set. The goal is set. And Tom, we won't be talking to you until then, so you're going to have to kind of hold our feet to the fire and say, "So how'd you do?" But in the meantime, I hope you have a great week.
Yeah. Well, thank you. You too, Walt.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you also to our listeners. We see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.